Hello and welcome to my channel In Search of Wonder. My name is Anne and this is my October TBR. Ladies and gentlemen, it is definitely getting to be October. We have had actual fall weather around here, and unfortunately the leaves have already started turning and falling. I don't think we're going to get much good color this year, sadly. But it is time for October. And October is the biggest month in BookTube. I'm not even kidding. There are so many readathons and reading challenges and group reading events. It's not possible to do all of the things. And yet, of course, I have to try, right? I have to try to do all the things. So primarily, I want to do Victober, of course. I love Victorian literature, and this is a great reason to read it. If you hear my family, they are watching a football game. They might get loud. I don't know. Anyway, so Victober is definitely on the list of things that I shall be doing in October. But also, Chantal Reads All Day has a fantastic cozy cottage readathon that she is doing, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. And then Chateau Havoc again is doing Anne-Tober, which is based on Anne of Green Gables, one of my favorite characters of all time. And plus, my name is also Anne with an E, so I definitely have to participate in that one to whatever extent I can. So I have a few definites, books that I am absolutely reading in October. I'm committed to reading them, and I will get those done. Lord willing and the creek don't rise. But then I have a lot of other options and possibilities as usual, and they fit the various prompts for the various readathons. So we'll see what I actually accomplish. First of all, for Victober, there are 4 primary prompts from each of the hosts, and I will link to all of their channels in the description box below if you are not familiar with Victober. And the first one is to have a religious component, which I believe was Kate at Kate Howe's channel, her prompt to read. And so I am going to go with Sylvia's Lovers, which is by Elizabeth Gaskell. And I just recently read Ruth by Elizabeth Gaskell and talked about that a lot on this channel. And Ruth definitely had very strong religious themes. It was all about how the church, as people, not the church collectively, but people in the church, Christians, should respond to the plight of someone who has sinned, and the journey of how to handle that, how to manage that, how to deal with that. And so very strong religious themes in that one. It also has strong themes of repentance and rebuilding a life. Anyways, that was a really good one. I don't know too much about the book Sylvia's Lovers, but first of all, it is the final full-length novel by Elizabeth Gaskell that I have to read. I have read all of the others, so I definitely want to be reading it. Secondly, Miriam Elizabeth Reads organized a group read for it because so many people wanted to read it. So we are all going to be reading it together, which is fantastic. A couple chapters a day throughout the month of October. And it also was on Kate Howe's list of possible options of books with religious themes. So all I know about it is that the main character is a girl named Sylvia, and there are 2 different men that she's interested in, and there's drama and things happen. I don't know. But I'm definitely reading that one, along with Miriam and quite a few other channels and readers who are going to be reading it as well. So that will be a lot of fun to read it together with them. The next prompt is a book that is published serially, which I believe was the prompt by Blatantly Bookish. And many Victorian novels were published serially. I don't think that any of the other ones on my list were. So I'm tentatively putting The Doctor's Wife in there. That is also the group read for the Victober Readathon. And they're reading it October 1st through the 18th with discussions on Discord, 2 to 3 chapters a day. I'm not 100% sure about that one. That's not a definite, but I would like to. The next one is Katie's Books and Things, her prompt, which was plays with form. So the book should play with form in some way, and you can watch her video for suggestions on books that do that in the Victorian era. And I picked Dracula because that is a book that I've been wanting to read for a long time anyway. October is a great time to read it. It's Victorian. It plays with form. There's, I don't know if it's epistolary throughout, but there are definitely epistolary parts to the novel. So it plays with form in that way. Furthermore, Dracula fits with the Tea and Ink Society Read the Classics Challenge, which I also do. The October prompt is something spooky, so Dracula fits that bill. So Dracula is definitely going to be happening. Now, I feel like I had talked about buddy reading that with someone, but I can't for the life of me think who it was. And I don't know if we made definite plans or just spoke of it as a possibility. If that was you, or if you want to buddy read Dracula with me in October, let me know, remind me, or we can just make arrangements if it wasn't you, but you're interested. Anyways, Dracula, that is one of my definites. So Dracula and Sylvia's Lovers are definites for Victober. I can't talk today, apparently. Roz at Scally Daniel and Around the Books with Roz, she had a prompt to experience drama, Victorian drama. And so I chose a play by Oscar Wilde that I have not read yet, which is Lady Windermere's Fan. I ordered it just earlier today. I don't know if it will come by then, but it should be pretty short. That should be an easy read. I would really love to get to that. I do like Oscar Wilde, and I have enjoyed the plays by him that I have read. So I would love to read this one, Lady Windermere's Fan. So that it is a tentative plan, not a definite, but I would like to read that. And then in addition, to honor some booktubers that have passed away in the past year who were very heavily involved in Victober in years past, they have 2 bonus prompts to read a book by Wilkie Collins or Arthur Conan Doyle. And I do have a book of stories of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and I would like to read A Study in Scarlet out of that if I have time. It's shorter, so I might be able to squeeze it in. I would really like to. That's a goal, but it's not a definite, but it's definitely on my list of potentials that's higher up than some others. So those are for the actual Victober prompts. But then there are a couple of Victober related books that I also am planning to get to, and these are committed ones. The first is Honest Faith by Charles Spurgeon, which is going to be a group read together with Tiffany at Beautiful Minutia and Dia at A Novel Idea and Chrissy at Chrissy's Purple Library. And they will be having weekly live events to go with this readathon, and they're just reading a couple chapters a week, I think, or a day or so. I don't know. It's organized in small, like almost devotional-like segments, I think, if I'm understanding correctly. I purchased it free on Kindle. I don't know if it's always free or if it's currently on sale, but it was free when I got it, so I have the Kindle ready to go, and I'm looking forward to read that. I missed when they read Joy in Christ's Presence last year because I had too much going on, and I would have loved to have read that with them, so I'm really looking forward to reading Honest Faith with them. For Chantel's Read Your Shelf Challenge, the year-long challenge, the prompt for me this month in October is nonfiction, and so I have this book that I was given for my birthday earlier this year and was saving for Victober. This is Dickensland by Lee Jackson, The Curious History of Dickens's London. So it talks about all of the places in his books, the ones that are still there and the history of them. The original Old Curiosity Shop, Nancy Steps and Oliver Twist, the cemetery in Bleak House, the true locations of Dickens's novel have fascinated readers and tourists for 150 years. It says, from vanishing coaching inns to submerged riverside stairs, hidden burial grounds to apocryphal shops, Dickensland charts the curious history of an endlessly captivating, if often entirely fictional, world. Were the places real? Were they not? Were they based on real places? This explores the places in London. I love London. I have visited several times. I'd love to go back many times if I can, as many times as I can. And yeah, I am very interested in reading that. So those are the ones that are mostly Victober related, but I also have a lot of Bronte themed books that I want to read, fiction and nonfiction, including some poetry by the Brontes, which is one of the last things I need to read all of the Bronte collectively to zero. So I am going to incorporate items from this list into Shatona Havig's Anne-Tober Readathon. So her prompts are based on quotes from the books, and I think one of them is actually from the adaptation, which is really a fantastic adaptation, the 1980s one that I grew up on, and practically, I don't know, I don't have it memorized, I'm sure, anymore, but there was a point in time when I probably had the whole thing memorized, and I could probably quote decent portions of it still to this day. But anyway, the first one, at least that I don't have them in order, I don't think, on the little bingo card that she has. I just kind of wrote them down in my notebook and they're kind of like everywhere. But one that I have is, the quote is, "Call me Anne," with an E. Don't forget the E. You have to be thinking it in your mind when you say Anne. Like, you have to see the E in there. I promise. That's how it works. Anyway, so for that one, I should read an ebook. And Sylvia's Lovers, I have on ebook. Also, Honest Faith, I have on ebook. So a couple of these I already know I'm reading on ebook. Perfect. Cross that one off. And then it says, "Some books are best left on the shelf." So we are to read a book that's been on our shelf for a while. I picked Dickensland for this because I have been saving it specifically for Victober and Anne-Tober now. So that one goes with that. And then the next one is, there's a quote Anne says about "Tomorrow is always fresh with no mistakes in it." And for that one, you're supposed to read a book that takes place in a school. Now, I'm stretching this a little bit because it's not a fiction, it's not a novel, which I think is kind of the idea behind these prompts. But I also have a couple books from my September TBR. They did not get read as of now. I have a week left. Pretty sure I'm not going to get to it. But I'm going to put this for that October readathon and hope to try to get to it again. And that is Areopagitica and Of Education by John Milton, which I'm very curious to read. And it's not very long, honestly, but I have a feeling it will take a lot of concentration. So that one is being pushed forward to my October TBR and kind of fits in that prompt. And then the next one is, Anne's big thing is kindred spirits. All throughout the books, she mentions, she meets people who are kindred spirits that she becomes fast friends with. And so the prompt is to read a book about friendship. And this book is not about friendship, but it's about the Thursday Murder Club. And so I would assume that the people in the Thursday Murder Club either are or become friends through the course of the story. So I think that one fits for that. Again, this is from my September TBR and my July and August one, I think. I keep putting this on my TBR and I haven't read it yet. One of these days. So pushing that forward to October. And then there is a free square, and the quote is, "I'm so glad we live in a world with Anne-Tobers." And for that one, I would like to read at least some of the works of the Bronte Sisters, which this is their poetry that they published under their pseudonyms Currer, Acton, and Ellis Bell. And I have already read some of them. I read some of them last year. I would like to read more of them. Will I read all of them? I don't know. I don't necessarily intend to, but I would definitely like to read some of them. And then When Your Imaginations Come True. And so the prompt is to read a book about a dream come true. And so this one, again, is a little bit of a stretch. Some of these are a stretch. Sorry, Chaturna. But this is Charlotte Bronte's High Life in Verdopolis, a story from the Glasstown saga. So if you didn't know, the Bronte siblings would write stories, extremely imaginative stories, and they created these entire worlds and wrote like episodes basically based in these worlds with these imaginary people and also some real life people that they wrote this fiction about. And it was their imaginations and their dreams. Now, nothing comes true in real life in any of these, so that's the part where I'm stretching a little bit, but this is definitely about their imagination and their dreams, and it's something that Anne Shirley would totally approve of. So going to be reading that one, and again, it's short, so it's another thing that I would like to read to get the Brontes to 0. And then the next one is the quote, "I suppose it was a romantic way to perish for a mouse." I don't know if you can hear that, but it's raining cats and dogs out there. And the prompt is to read a book with romantic sensibilities. Not necessarily a romance, but a book that has romantic sensibilities. And if you know Anne Shirley, then you know what is meant by that. And so I have The Secret Diaries of Charlotte Bronte by Syrie James. I've read several of her other books and enjoyed them to one extent or another. This one is about Charlotte Bronte and a supposed secret diary that she has. It's fictional, it's not biographical. And it says, "Though poor, plain, and unconnected, Charlotte Bronte possesses a deeply passionate side which she reveals only in her writings, creating Jane Eyre and other novels that stand among literature's most beloved works. Living a secluded life in the wilds of Yorkshire with her sisters Emily and Anne, their drug-addicted brother, and an eccentric father who is going blind, Charlotte Bronte dreams of a real love story as fiery as the one she creates. But it is in the pages of her diary where Charlotte exposes her deepest feelings and desires, and the truth about her life, its triumphs and shattering disappointments, her family, the inspiration behind her work, her scandalous secret passion for the man she could never have, and her intense dramatic relationship with the man she comes to love, the enigmatic Arthur Bell Nichols. If that's not romantic sensibilities, I don't know what is. So that one, it's been on my shelf for a while. That fits that other prompt. And I really just want to read that one. The next quote is, "It is ever so much easier being good when your clothes are fashionable." And the prompt is to read a book with a great cover. So I am applying Dickensland to this prompt also, although I am getting the Paper Mill Press copy of Dracula in the mail, hopefully. And I feel like that one has a pretty fantastic cover, so that could go for that as well. But I just love this. There's like pen and ink drawings here with some watercolor coloring in, and then this gold gilded title there, Dickensland. It's just really a lovely cover. Now that is a slip cover. The actual cover is pretty boring, just white. It does have gold lettering, and it does have this lovely aqua end papers, but otherwise it's kind of boring. So try to keep that slip cover nice and beautiful. And then finally, the quote, that life is worth living as long as there is a laugh in it. And the prompt is an author that makes you laugh. And this would be a fun palate cleanser kind of read. And I have a couple of like the series, I forget what it's called. I think Courtney Walsh wrote one of them. Emma St. Clair wrote another one. Jenny Proctor might be one of the authors. And it's all like, the first one is like a hockey one. I can't remember exactly the names of it. I'll put a picture up here. I have them on my Kindle. My Kindle Unlimited expires early-ish in October. So I'm going to try to read one of those before then, and that will be a nice balance to all of the kind of more in-depth reading that I have going on otherwise in October. So that one goes for that prompt. So those all there are possibilities. Some of them, Dickensland and Sylvia's Lovers, are on my definite list, but most of those are possibilities for when I'm looking for something else to read, mood reads, ones that I will reach for to hopefully fill those prompts. And then for Chantel's Cozy Cottage Readathon, she has some really fantastic prompts that are all related to cozy cottage autumn vibes and so fun. The prompts are rainy day, next to a fireplace, with a blanket, under the trees, fresh baking, in the dark, on a hike, and drinking tea. And she has suggestions for how you can interpret those prompts, and you can however you want as far as books go. But then also the idea is to do those things actually. So on a rainy day, to read on a rainy day, which I totally could do today, but it doesn't start till October 1st. So, and then to read next to a fireplace. If you don't have an actual fireplace, you can use the one on, pull up a YouTube one. I actually have a fake fireplace heater downstairs in our entertainment center, so I can do that. And then read with a blanket, done. I do that all the time. Read under the trees. I don't know about that. We'll see. Maybe might get to that or not. Fresh baking. I've already indulged in so much. I love baking in the fall. I just always bake. So I love that prompt. And then in the dark, reading in the dark. I do that all the time. On a hike, so you can like listen to an audiobook while you're hiking, and drinking tea. And then I don't have actual books listed for these. I feel like, because you can also, like the prompts go with books that like you can think of a book that's, about a rainy day, like it has rain on the cover, or it's about, a rainy day, or, something like interpret the prompt according to the book. For most of these, I have not actually chosen books. I'm hoping to fit books for most of them, but I'm sort of feeling like I'm going to be on the lookout for these things when I am reading the books that I have already chosen and see if I can apply them to them. It'd be kind of like a little bit of a scavenger hunt. So that's how I am approaching most of them. I do have some ideas for a couple of them. For my books that I already am hoping to read, apply to a couple of them, I already think. So those are Dracula, which I think would go well with In the Dark. because I feel like it's a bit of a dark story. So that fits with In the Dark. And then for drinking tea, Chantel suggested that you read a short story because, you know, when you're drinking tea, you take sips of it. So I think if I get to Sherlock Holmes, that would fit for that. The others, I don't have actual books in mind. So we'll see what I come across, if any of these other books on my TBR will fit with those prompts. So I think that covers everything. Those are my plans for Victober, Anne-Tober, and the Cozy Cottage Readathon. I'm pretty confident that I can get to my definites, which is Honest Faith, Sylvia's Lovers, Dracula, and Dickensland. That's only 4. So the others I will fit in. Lady Windermere's Fan is short. A Study in Scarlet is not that long. And a couple of the others on my list are not, like High Life and Verdopolis, also not very long. And the poetry about the Brontes I can read in small snippets, see how much of that I get done. So totally doable. We'll see what happens. And here's to happy reading in October.